Hello and welcome. Today we've got Lewis Herms, and today we're going to be discussing the Trump's Project Looking Glass, especially what's happened with the assassination attempt. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to my Instagram channel at nicholas.veniamin, where you can follow all my daily news reels. Lewis, thank you so much for joining me. How are you, and what have you been up to?
I'm doing great, doing great. We're doing a lot of work. We're preparing for the Unity Tour, which is coming starting in September, where we're going to travel 50 cities in just over a month, and it's going to be really, really good. And I believe we, like Trump just said, ironically, we always seem to be ahead of the curve, which is it's got to be divine. We just created the graphic that says unite a couple months ago, and here Trump is saying now it's time to unite. So I think it's just awesome. So yeah, and obviously we've been inundated with the this assassination attempt because we do a news program. So I like craziness, just go, go, go. But it is what it is at this point.
It's very crazy, from the shooter being in a BlackRock advert to the Secret Services. Apparently, the boss wasn't given. He told him to hold out. The guy that killed the assassin when he could have prevented him from shooting in the beginning. It's terrible with what's happened. But I'm not going to regurgitate everything that everybody's saying on the internet and bore my viewers. My viewers and your viewers know what's going on. It's just very sad that it's happened because this is a president who wants to put more money back in people's lives, and these bad people want to kill him. They're demonic. It's absolutely terrible. Now, I think from what this has happened, it's going to wake up more people. I think definitely is going to win the election. And I think that the deep state are panicking because they missed. And I don't think they're going to have another chance of doing this again. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's likely they could try again, but just if you just look at Trump's Secret Service team yesterday in a crowd that they trust compared to where it was the day of the assassination, he's already beefed up his security big time. It's a whole nother level, which is an indication to me that everybody's saying that the Secret Service failed. I don't think the Secret Service failed when there's intent. If there's intent, because they're filled with deep state actors, to let this assassination attempt go through, they didn't fail. That was the intention, is to be inept. But like you said, everybody's rehashing this over and over. So I have a take, I would say, that is completely divergent from what everybody else says.
Yeah.
So
Well, let's have a look, because the other thing that's going around that I know you're going to show us today, which blew my mind, was somebody who prophesized that Trump was going to be shot 3 months prior this happened.
mhm.
And we do know that prophecies are real, they're true.
Yep.
But let's go into it. I will let you take over. I know you want to share
Yeah.
your screen.
Yeah, we're going to go into that, and I'll share screen in just a moment. But
Yeah.
so we have to look at this. There's two sectors right now that I'm seeing. You have the sector that everything's a movie, everything's completely scripted, right? And then you have this sector that look at the deep states going crazy. None of it is scripted, and it's just a movie, or it's not a movie. Here's my take, and I've said for a long time, if it's just a movie, why are there still people dying? You know what I mean? We talk to people on the border often, and I can tell you that there's still kids being trafficked, kids raped, molested on the border. Clearly, somebody at the Trump rally, and we've had corroboration from this, actually got shot in the head and was killed, right?
Yeah.
So if it's a movie, why would we just let that be happening? So I think, and I've had this take for a while, it can be a little bit of both. So like the Trump and the team, or the Q team, whatever you want to call it, has more control of a chessboard, but not 100% control. Kind of, that's been my belief system. So people are saying this is staged, or is it real? I actually don't. I can't say that it's staged, but here's where I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on. In fact, literally, Nicholas, for you, I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on. There we go. Because this is going to be crazy talk, and I understand where I'm going with this, so everybody will think it's kind of wacky, but I think when they see the details on this, it may make sense. It's actually resonating with me. So is it staged or real? Maybe it can be both. So many feel that Q, as talked about all the time, is a perfect script of what's to come, right? So most feel that we're only seeing actors and this is a movie playing itself out as each scene is written in succession, right? They believe this is why Q is so amazing at predicting the future, because they don't think Q's actually predicting the future. They think this is scripted, and they're just, because Trump has said several times, and I've even heard him say this about Tom Holman in person, and he said it's central casting, right? So President Trump is kind of alluding to this also. So, but I contend that we're looking at something much more amazing than a script. I believe the good guys, through divine intervention, are peeking through a looking glass at the future. This is what it seems like to me. And I'm going to go into detail here so people will understand. So here's the background. 4 years ago, this month, actually, 4 years ago, this month, I was contacted by somebody that has convinced me he's extraordinarily well connected to the Q operation, right? I'm not. I don't claim to be. I have no connections. I don't know much about the Q operation, or I didn't think I knew anybody involved, but this guy has convinced me that he knew all about it. And I do know he's very, very well connected to President Trump. He's put me in touch with their team immediately before. So we had a lengthy conversation after he actually viewed two of my films, which I was pleased, and he gave me a call, right? And that was my 2020 Vision film and my Watch the Water film, which was about Trump and Q, not the Watch the Water that everybody knows about. And he liked the films, and he was making some indications because I actually had some predictions in there. And he said, so one part of our conversation that I thought was very interesting, it just really stood out to me. And we've talked for several hours. And this is when I felt he was trying to convince me that the so-called white hats had things under control. Almost like, God, don't worry, Lewis, this is what's going on. So one of the ways he tried to convince me this is he said, we have what you may call a better than quantum computer. I go, what exactly is that? He goes, it runs millions of scenarios to help direct us in making decisions on possible outcomes. Now, to be honest, Nick, this made me very uneasy because at the time, because I was already concerned about the ramifications of AI, and I actually thought that we may be in the midst of an AI versus AI war, and that's why this stuff is so confusing. So when he said that, it actually made me uneasy because I'm like, where does our intuition come in? Where does God come in? Where do people actually make the decisions? Why would we let a computer make our decisions for us? And then it hit me. And I said, well, wait a second. What if he just didn't want to tell me that what they're actually doing is they're using Project Looking Glass? Now, for people that don't know, that's an apparatus that actually peeks into the future. So to me, I said, okay, what if it was even better? What if they connected this so-called quantum computer to Project Looking Glass, and they ran all the possible scenarios, and then they looked in the future to see the outcome? And then I got I got the, like I just got right now, I got the chills and the hair standing up, and I'm like, maybe this is it. And I got a feeling, instead of me being apprehensive and concerned or anxious about an AI battle, I was like, okay, I can deal with that because that's not against divinity. I believe in God strongly, and I do not agree with us having computers making decisions for us. But if they're making decisions based on looking to something in the future, and they can still use God's divinity and that God spark, I'm like, okay, I can get my head around this. So I started to do some investigation. So now let's bring this back to President Trump and the attempted assassination. So what if they ran these scenarios several times, And they actually found that he was truly killed or assassinated hundreds of times, right? And there were mass casualties. But this one time, based on a scenario, whatever way they hooked everything up, did whatever they did, right? With one time, it just grazed his ear. Now, tragically, there was still one person killed, but they minimized the casualties. And then what if they knew this, that this day was coming? So they strategically made the Secret Service look inept because they knew they weren't going to stop this anyways. And now they can expose the deep state. And then, of course, Trump fell and then he yelled, got up, and I just one of the best moments I've ever seen in my life. He told the Secret Service, he said, wait, 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 right? And they're trying to hold him down. And he stood up, they stood him up together, and he said, fight, fight, fight. What's the best motivator you've ever seen? To me, that is probably the best motivator I've ever seen for people. And this is the way that we can come together. And he's not talking about fighting and going blowing people's heads off. That's not what he's talking about, right? So all this stuff seems crazy. I get it, right? It's crazy. But what's crazier to me is my Project Looking Glass scenario, right? Or that everything is completely scripted and it works out perfectly. To me, that seems impossible, because how could they possibly script it and then have the deep state constantly doing their stuff, yet their predictions always come true? That doesn't seem possible at all. The only scenario is that they've already seen the outcome. Therefore, they can write the scripts accordingly to the outcome. And what that means is all the craziness you're seeing from the deep state is absolutely real. It's not scripted, but it's predicted. And therefore, they can put actors and do so weird things around it, like Joe Biden and the masks and so on and so forth. That seems a lot likelier to me. And I know it's a tinfoil hat moment, right? So it's hard, though, to say that, because how are you going to tell the family who actually had somebody lost their life right there? Right. So it has to be real. But could they have also known ahead of time? I think it's plausible now at this point. If you can believe in prophets and looking into the future, right? So I'm just suggesting that all things kind of are working symbiotically together, right? The event actually happened. There were actors around which the actors are scripted, right? But there was divine intervention, and that's why it just clipped his ear, I believe. And we are looking in the future. So think about it. There's been stories for thousands of years of oracles and prophets, right? You have Nostradamus, predicted a lot. You have Kim Clement. Geez, he's predicted so much about President Trump. And now you have this guy, which I'll show you right here, Brandon Briggs. And Brandon Briggs, actually 3 months ago, Brandon Briggs said flat out that there was assassination attempt on Trump. The bullet grazed his ear, knocked out his eardrum. And at that time, he dropped to his knees and prayed at that time and found even closer connection to God. This is what Brandon Briggs said.
Yeah, before you play that, Lewis, I also wanted to tell you that in the RNC convention that we saw just 2, 3 days after the assassination attempt, Trump's face was very, very glowing, and he looked very like he humbled down completely, and he looked very angelic and very emotional. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think in fact, I actually don't have the video anyways. I just wanted to play a screenshot. I mean, just show a screenshot of him. But his name's Brandon Briggs. You guys can find it. It's amazing. I see Trump almost looks. I know this is just going to freak non-Trumpers out. He almost looks angelic to me right now, and he's so calm and confident. It just I think this thing is biblical, Nick. I think this is to a level that is really unexplainable, and that's why I'm going deep. I know, off the deep end, showing that I believe this is the good guys looking into the future. But the scenario everybody seems to miss and they're missing it in all three cases. If none of it's scripted and these are all just deep state actions and we're reacting to it, the theme continually from the good guys and President Trump is we need to fight. We, the people, need to stand up and do something, right? If it's completely scripted, the theme still is fight, fight, fight. We need to do something, right? And if they're looking into the future, guess what? The theme's the same. It's up to we, the people, to stand up and make the difference. This may be finally the catalyst that's going to help us, because we cannot be watching this so-called movie, as people say. I think that's so dangerous. We need to participate. So this is Brandon Briggs, and he did make that prediction. So you guys can go find him. He's a prophet. Now, here's where we're going to get into the Q stuff a little bit. So right here, it says law enforcement should interview therapists. Well, interesting enough, this assassin, Crooks, his father is a very prominent therapist. And if you look into other killers, that's the same thing. So I believe, and I talked to Laura Worley about this before, that it's very possible that his father, and by the way, he's very high paid, he's very prominent, written books. He's I believe he's probably connected with the something like a 3-letter agency, and this is an MK Ultra event. So isn't it interesting that it says right here, law enforcement should interview therapists. Each shooter has one, coincidentally. So how would Q have known that? Right? I don't know. I believe they've already looked into the future and they saw this. So how would Q have known this? This is Q post 2190. This is President Trump right there. And what is he doing? This is in the same post. He's got his fist in the air, right? Looking up. And what does it say on the bottom?
Fight, fight,
Fight,
fight.
fight, fight. There's no way so I do not think it's scripted. I think they've looked in, or I think it's possible, let me say, because I know this is wacky, I think it's possible they looked into the future and they already saw this scenario. So then you go here on the Q post, and of course it shows fight, fight, fight. And this is called the Q clock. By the way, Nick, I didn't understand how to use this Q clock until recently. I'm just still trying to learn it, but this is very interesting. So what happens is the date of that post with President Trump and fight, fight, fight was 9/17. It says right there, right? The actual date of the event was 7/13. And this is how they do it on the Q clock. They show you how to read it. So 9/17 equals 7/13. So is that just a coincidence? It can't be a coincidence anymore. In fact, Q has told us there is no coincidence. They're mathematically impossible. I think it's more likely that they've already seen these events in the future, and that is how they're laying it out for us, which is very interesting. And I'm saying if that's true, right? Go figure. 9. By the way, 9, people would say 9 is also divinity and is Jesus. So right here, Q post 9, one of the first ones ever, through the looking glass. Interesting. So he's talking about what if everything was released? They rely on the mainstream media to keep the narrative going, but tech is entrenching on their controls. Most people, when they read this, they assumed tech was social media like X and Facebook and so on and so forth. What if tech is the Project Looking Glass? Now, none of this would make sense, Lewis, unless Q actually would have said the words Project Looking Glass, right? Look at this. 3585 Q post. Project Looking Glass, question mark, going forward in order to look back. So these events have already happened, and we're peeking back at these events is what I believe it's indicating. They already have seen them. That would make sense on how Q could be so freaking accurate. And then we have this. This is, you're probably familiar with the artist Ben Garrison. right? This is Gulliver's Travel. So during the debacle, Trump lost a shoe and he kept saying, I need to get my shoe. I need to get my shoe, right? Interesting enough, look at this. Trump's shoe is off. Why would they have his shoe off? Maybe it means nothing, but look what's hidden in this picture, Nick. Q, right there. There it is. You go here at the top, Q, hidden, emergency, Q, press the button. And that's Ben Garrison, has nothing to do with it. All right. And then last but not least, if anybody's familiar with this, how is it possible that Ingersoll Lockwood was so damn good at predicting things about President Trump in 1890 in Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey? If anybody hasn't read it, you should check it out. You'll be blown away at this. And then he has this one called 1900 or The Last President, which I believe it's likely that President Trump will be the last president because I think our whole system's going to change. So you add all that crazy stuff up together, right? I don't know, and then I'll leave it with this. This is somebody named Cheryl put this in my chat, and I like to give credit is due. And she says, what is lost in the movie comparison is the fact we are living in a manufactured reality. This reality plays out in real time according to a script if we allow it to. Unlike a movie, which has coffee breaks and chances to repeat scenes, it's just a movie. Implies in mind that we are bystanders or casted as extras who are part of the scenery. It doesn't convey the power of creation, which God designed into us to co-create. We possess the ability to intervene and change the script in real time, but it takes conscious awareness and right action to achieve. Now, I think her statement is beautiful because it indicates what I've been saying forever. You guys everybody can call it a movie or not call it a movie, but we need to participate. And President Trump has said several times, we have handed it back to we the people. I have given it to we the people. You need to take the ball and run it. Michael Flynn says, go do some local work, local action makes a difference. I've said the micro will fix the macro. Get up, people, do something. There's a reason we need to participate and not be bystanders. So the whole movie talk frustrates me a lot because then people just sit down and they do nothing, right? I think it's more likely, I know it's wacky. You've never heard me talk like this before, I know. I know it's wacky, and that's why I brought my tinfoil hat today, is that it looks like possibly we're diving into something like Project Looking Glass and then adjusting scenarios and making decisions based on that. So that's what I got. Everybody watching, I know it sounds wacky, but it's just a theory at this point.
Well, nothing surprises me. It's very interesting. I really hope they have this technology. But again, there's a lot of coincidences that you showed in these Q drops that were posted quite a few years ago. And then they're happening today, So I really like that. I find it very interesting. Now, some have said that when Trump said, wait, and then he says, fight, 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 when the Secret Services stopped and they had an open room ready for another assassin or somebody to aim at Trump, they shouldn't have allowed that. The Secret Services shouldn't have allowed that. And they shouldn't, to a point in a situation like this, the Secret Services shouldn't listen to Trump. They should protect him straight away. And some people say that there was weakness in the Secret Services. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with all of the above. In fact, the one thing that got me is you don't have a guy that's 6'2", or I think he may even be 6'4". I don't know. Trump is really tall. You don't have a bunch of you don't have a bunch of 5'2" women protecting him, right? For a couple reasons. Number one, and I hate to say this, but this is a fact. Secret Service is also the armor of the person that they're protecting, which means they have to take a bullet. Just like they did with Reagan. The guy took a bullet. He jumped in front of the gun. Why would you have somebody that is tasked to take a bullet a foot shorter than your target? No common sense there. The other thing with the Secret Service is they're supposed to be strong enough to drag their person that they're protecting off a stage. They weren't strong enough to do that. So there's a lot of anomalies that don't make any sense. I heard, I don't know if it's true, that the A team of the Secret Service was pulled to go protect Joe Biden that day. Jill Biden, not Joe Biden. So there's a lot of anomalies there. Here's what I do know is the Secret Service has details. So does the police force that's protecting them, right? The details that were supposed to be watching that building where the assassin was completely broke down, which that's not failure, that's intent. They were intentionally standing down there. They were being screamed at. They knew the guy was on the roof and they did nothing about it. Even worse, and this is the worst thing, I mentioned this to Michael Jekyll yesterday myself, and this is a big deal, is never, ever, ever do you let a perpetrator take what's called the high point. In fact, the Secret Service, if you go, I was at January 6th, and I can tell you that all the buildings around, you had snipers, but they're the good guys. They're the ones that were protecting President Trump. Never, never, ever would somebody be able to get on that building. So there's a lot of anomalies. It was made to let happen. There's two theories. One is that the deep state let it happen, which I think is more likely. And then you have the movie people theory that the Trump team let it happen. I don't know. All I know is to just say it's only a movie is disrespectful for the person that got killed and his family that was in the crowd behind President Trump.
I think that, in my opinion, the Trump team got too comfortable with their position, and that they neglected their responsibility, but because the people that were saying that there was a person with a rifle on top of the roof, everybody ignored those people that said something like that. This is a high alert thing. They should have notified the people or the Secret Services immediately, but they didn't. So this is not good either. And we wouldn't be surprised if Trump now beefed up his security service, like you mentioned that they did, and also if he fired a lot of the Secret Services as well.
Yeah, that the challenge is the Secret Service is still, I don't believe, in control of President, or Trump doesn't control them because he's not the actual president. And I asked questions about this yesterday, and it seems like the Secret Service becomes the number one detail, and his personal security has to stand back, which to me is, I would much rather have it the opposite way, right?
Yeah.
So to me, this would be intentional failure on the part of the Secret Service, which means it would be a deep state hit.
Absolutely.
And they have to, Nick, right? They've been in control 1,000 years. The only thing they can do is try to kill this guy because they're going to lose everything.
I know. We need to get rid of them because they want to not only kill Trump, they want to kill you, they want to kill me, they want to kill everybody. It's 2024 and we don't even have, the mainstream media doesn't even promote a cure. We found a cure to cancer, diabetes or something, because the money's not in the cure. They want to kill us all. They want to enrich themselves from medicines that are highly poisonous. They want to kill us off slowly. And I want to talk about the master glutathione antioxidants that you have brought to the table, that I have helped many people with skin conditions. That I'm not going to say the names of those skin conditions because I've been asked to remove those videos by the FDA through that company. But it's worked wonders and I want to share it with the viewers. But this helped a few of my friends with skin conditions. It's a spray. And nothing works that's prescribed by their doctors, but this master antioxidant spray called Numi. Lewis, why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So funny. When we talk about Numi, we usually talk about the swish, not the spray, right? But look what I just, for fun, I had this in my hand. So somehow it worked out perfectly. By the way, this is what Nick's talking about. It's Numi Skin. It's phenomenal, and we've heard tremendous results. We actually have somebody that was on our Truth Tour team that had a let's just call it an item that was on his foot for over 30 years. 30 years. and he started taking Swish and the spray, and that thing was gone. So why does this work? I mean, it's not magical, because I believe, as you know, I have a deep connection with God, with spirit, and I personally believe that our body is set up to heal us from anything that it comes in contact with virtually, right? But what happens is our system's been so broken down by all the toxins that are supplied by us, I think by the deep state, that it doesn't operate the way it should. So what happens is glutathione is the most powerful antioxidant in the world. It's the most studied molecule in the world. That's crazy, right? So why is it that they don't make it readily available? Well, number one, because if big pharma would go out of business if it was readily available. And the other reason why is they hadn't found a mechanism to ingest it without the body breaking it down. So this company, Numi, finally did, because what they do is they nano-size, make it so small that when you're swishing it in your mouth, it subliminally goes into your system, bypassing your digestive system. Now you will swallow it and some of it get through, but the beauty is while it's going in, it's already going into your system. So it bypasses the digestive system, which traditionally breaks down glutathione. That's why people spend $1,200 a month to get IVs of glutathione, and they don't work half as good as this works, right? So this is amazing. But what it does really, pretty simple. It tells your body, go fix whatever's going on. That's the beauty. So you may take it for something particular, and it could also help you for something else. I mean, my hair used to be white, pretty much, right? It got darker. That wasn't why I took it. That was just a positive side effect. And for people to know, I'm actually 124 years old, and now I only look about 85. So the skin's, it's working pretty good too.
Well, you're looking good for 85.
Thank you, sir.
Well, listen, I'm going to leave the link below in the description. I think it's a great, this is what this platform's about. It's about talking about things the mainstream media does not want to talk about, because all they want to do is make us more ill. They want to talk about injections. They want to, not once when we had the COVID lockdowns did they ever talk about how to make the healthiest salad, or what dosage of vitamin D or C we need to be taking, or to go outside and get some fresh air, and nothing like that. It was all about the injection and having a donut as a reward for having the injection, which is really bad. But I'm going to leave the link below in the description for Numi, which is a master glutathione, a master antioxidants that I take, Lewis, you take, my friends take, my family takes. Is great. But is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
Well, one is folks, we have this. I believe God already won this war. We just kind of have to activate, and then we're going to finally reap the harvest. We just have to ante up and kick in. Everybody has to do their part, whatever their part is. Could be praying, could be posting, could be interviewing, could be going to a border. I don't know. Whatever your part is, you're called to do. That's your assignment. But folks, I do a lot with my team. So just go to screwbiggov.com. You can find all of our links, because we get taken down on platforms all the time. So you can find all the links to the social media, access to over 20 films that we've produced. And if you want to watch our daily news program, you have access to that too. So just go to screwbiggov.com. And a lot of love for you, Nick. I really appreciate you giving me this platform week on and week out.
Likewise, I really enjoy it. Thank you very much. And we'll speak again very soon. You take care and God bless. Bye-bye.